Hello, everyone. Welcome to the week 2 episode of our 007 month on Film Seizure. I am Jason Oliver, and with me I have Chuck Moore. Hi, Chuck.
Hey, how are you?
Doing all right. And I also have our resident Bond expert. Yeah.
You're a resident Bond expert.
I'm a resident Bond guy. Don't call me an expert,
You're
because the moment you do that, there's always going to be some asshole who's going to come along and he'd be like, what's this person's name? And he's appears like way the fuck back there in a movie.
Well, I'm still going to call you an expert.
Well,
Jeff Arbuckle, say more things. Jeff, say hello to your adoring fans.
Hi.
And to that asshole in the back who's going to challenge you on your expert status.
We're not going to be, I won't say more things, but I will say Lazenby things in this movie.
Yes.
Okay.
How do you like that? I might say some things to Chuck Moore. Chuck, good to see you here again.
Good to see you too, buddy.
I'm glad to be here.
So this week's episode, if you haven't figured it out, we're doing one Bond per Bond.
Not necessarily. You didn't have
one episode per Bond, like actor. But we're not doing the Daniel Craig movies. But we'll leave those for maybe another day.
There'll be at least one Daniel Craig movie I think we should talk about later on down the line.
I agree.
I
agree.
Maybe
two, honestly. Yeah. But this one is the George Lazenby entry on Her Majesty's Secret Service. And this is a movie that I avoided for most of my life because I had always been told the conventional wisdom that it's the bad one. It's the one with the Australian guy. He's a crappy Bond. He
only did one, so he can't be good.
Right.
You know what I say to those people? Nar.
And then I finally watched this for the first time when I mentioned it in the last episode, in my whole run through of all the Bond movies in the pandemic. I finally watched this one for the first time, and it absolutely floored me. And if it's not my favorite today, it might be my favorite tomorrow. It's like that kind of movie where, my favorite Bond movie, there's maybe 4 or 5 that kind of rotate, and this is in that rotation easily. Just really, really enjoyed this movie. And on the second watch, I enjoyed it just as much, but I did find some things to kind of pull at it on, right?
I've got a couple of things.
So that's why it's not like my cemented number one anymore, but it's still real high up on the list for me.
You know what's great about this movie? It has fucking everything.
Everything.
You want some action? It's got some action. You want some romance? It's got romance.
Got it in spades.
You want some horror? It has fucking horror in it.
You want some Telly Savalas? Oh, buddy, we got you covered.
Yeah, using a cigarette as a pointer.
Uh-huh. Who loves you, baby?
Who loves
Blofeld. This is first Chuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, how's it going? Where would you say that this ranks? Is this upper echelon? Is it middle? Is it where does this rank for you?
Pretty high. I mean, I like this more. I don't know. Maybe there are 2 or 3 Bond movies that I would put it in contention with. Honestly, okay. Like this is almost like beyond a Bond movie.
Yeah,
for me in ways. Like I think it's helped by the fact that Lazenby only has one film, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like he doesn't carry on the whole like the Bond thing, and there's not more of him to look at. Like it's his one movie. It separates itself immediately from the canon almost with one of the lines in the opening, which is kind of goofy, but it's also like, okay, I get where you're going with this. But it also, and I said this last week, I think it's like the number one representation of Austin Powers.
We'll have to unpack that. I guess it's been a while since I've seen the Austin Powers movies, but that's pretty funny. It's weird that they would reference this one the most.
Yeah, well, I don't know that Bond is just more Austin Powers in this movie than he is in other movies, in some ways to me.
Yeah. The one thing I do know it references is the mole.
Yes. And one of my kids was watching this one with us, and they said, "Oh my God, I just realized Austin Powers is a Bond spoof." So it's pretty clear.
That's
at least. Funny. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like you could watch any of the Bond movies and realize that. Probably. But yeah.
And when I did the full countdown after I did the full year of Bond movies and music reviews, I did the countdowns. This landed number 6 for me.
That's pretty
good. Number 6 overall.
And, interestingly, next week is number 5, and the week after is number 3. So we are heading into some good waters here.
When I said top 5, I just kind of pulled that number out of my butt, and then I started thinking about which ones I would really put it up against. And
I know there's one in a couple of weeks you like a lot.
I do, but that's like a different flavor of Bond.
It is a different flavor. It's a hard flavor.
It's probably
it's like Mike's hard lemonade Bond.
Yeah.
It's a different flavor of lemonade.
Really, as like a complete full like movie with true like amazing artistic merit.
Sure.
It's probably this and Casino Royale for me. And with maybe a close Skyfall behind them. Right? And then, definitely the one you're referring to in GoldenEye would probably round out my top 5.
Well, you're named off, pretty much the rest of my top 5.
Yeah.
So,
fair enough. The matter of margins at that point.
Yeah. This one obviously was going to the way I was going with this, because I could have just said, screw you guys, we're going to do the other top movies that weren't GoldenEye, because we did GoldenEye already.
We did GoldenEye, yeah.
Or I could have said, you know what, we're doing GoldenEye again. We're just going to do my top 5 or whatever. But going the way that I went, where I was like, picking one from each Bond, obviously this had to be picked.
Because it's the only one, right?
It's the only one. This is not one that I was scared to jump into. My deep dive of Bond happened in 1989. 1989, again, very central year in a lot of things for me.
Yeah.
But it was the year I saw License to Kill in the theater twice, which at that time, like, only Batman was a movie I saw more than once on my own. Of course, I saw like Return of the Jedi and all that multiple times. But anyway, when you get to the almost adult teenager kind of, you're kind of getting into more adult things. But that summer also, a lot of these Bond movies played on TV, on Channel 6. And the one that was never played was On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew it was there. Because let's face it, you're a little bit lost as to why Bond is so angry at the start of Diamonds Are Forever if you don't watch this movie. Yeah. It's the best part of Diamonds Are Forever is the coda to this movie.
Definitely.
Which is the opening to that movie. And it was set up that way. Those were written that way to be that.
In fact, I think I even read that the ending of this movie was supposed to be saved for the beginning of Diamonds Are Forever. But when Lazenby dropped out, he didn't sign the 7-picture deal. They rearranged it to make the ending.
Why the fuck did he not sign?
Because we'll get to that. Advice from an agent, but
we'll get to that. There was also an attitude issue. He was going to get fired anyway. But again, that mostly comes from outside forces. Anyway, so
hubris, Chuck hubris.
Yeah, it comes down to hubris. So anyway, but no, this was one that it's like the only thing I was scared about this movie was if I go to Blockbuster in my journey to watch all of these without fucking commercials, thanks Channel 6, am I going to be able to get this one? And this is the one that's always going to be on the shelf at Blockbuster.
Yes, always. And it always was. And all the video stores I worked at that had this movie, it never rented.
Right.
Yep.
And it's the one you were dying, or it's the one I was always dying to tell people, you should give it a chance.
Yeah.
While this has gone up in my rankings as an adult, as a kid, I recognized there was something special about this one.
I mean, it took me 40 years to watch this movie. You know, was this the first time you watched it, Chuck?
No. I think on the advice of maybe Ian Jones, I watched it with him, like in California at some point.
You were doing a rewatch around the same time I was too, so you probably watched it then.
Yes, I watched it again then. So this is probably the third time I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah. This would be my second time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've seen a few more times.
Because you're our resident expert.
Yes. You're our resident almost expert.
I'll take that.
There's a few things you don't know that you should know, but you don't know.
Probably. I'll accept
because that guy, asshole in the back knows it.
Right. He's going to test me on it.
He wants to know if you know it. Because if you don't,
this is the internet. This is the internet. The moment you say you're an expert, even if you have the bona fides,
you got a target on your back.
You get targeted. Like if you come up and you say
gun barrel target on your back, which you literally do.
I literally do. I literally do. But yeah, like if I were to step up to a microphone and say I'm a virologist and I know how bad this COVID-19 thing is, and I'm an expert in this shit, the internet comes for you, and it does, and it gets you
better prove it. Every day of your life, you spend
or hire some bodyguards.
So let's from here on out. Well, from here on out, we'll refer to you as a Bond enthusiast.
Perfect.
Yes,
perfect.
Because you don't have to be right to be an enthusiast.
That's exactly right. You just got to love the thing.
Yeah,
and it doesn't matter what your favorite movie. I want to say that also is that it doesn't matter what your favorite movie is.
Granted.
Exactly. I'm not even going to look at the paper. I'm not going to look you in the eye when I hand it back to you. Granted. Anyway, so this is a movie that is, I think, very underrated. I think there are still some people who play the card of, oh, this movie and the two Dalton movies are bad because these were the only two guys that were fired. And it's like, well,
people.
Timothy Dalton was never fired. We'll talk about that in a couple of weeks. He gave up the role because he felt too old for Goldeneye. We'll get to that. Well, I already got to it. So there it is. This one was a firing, but Robert Broccoli would say directly to George Lazenby that if he had continued on, he would have probably been the best Bond ever.
Yeah.
And there would have been no comparison.
He wasn't fired for his performance. It was because
it was behind the scenes bullshit.
He was kind of being an a-hole. His agent was being an a-hole, and he had a contract. He just never.
Yeah, it was right there. It was right there waiting for him.
Kept wanting more money and stuff. And
the agent was like, "You need to ask. Look at what Connery would have gotten for this."
Right.
And it's like, yeah, okay.
You can't compare yourself to Connery. Like,
no,
yes.
And he didn't want to. He didn't want to compare himself to Connery on set. Now he went to Connery's barber. He went to his tailor. He wanted to show up looking like Connery.
That was to get the role. Yeah.
Yeah. But after that, he wanted it to be his own thing. And he did. He was green. He wasn't, he was a model. He was not an actor at the time. But I think he actually does this really well.
I think he was like reportedly kind of uncomfortable on set too at times. Like it was just, he's kind of like standing around legends trying to fill the shoes of a legend.
But the one who convinced the director that he was going to be good enough was Diana Rigg.
Yeah.
So he had vote of confidence from a pretty good actor.
Yeah, we should mention that she was
Queen of Thorns.
Yeah, I mean, she was lots of stuff, but yeah, she was kind of famous for the Avengers, right?
Yes.
She's great. She's wonderful. Like she is, man.
I got like 20 minutes into this movie, Jason. You'll appreciate this because I don't think Jeff ever watched Game of Thrones, and I was like, I know an old lady that looks like this. If you've listened to enough of these episodes, I'm like not great with actors all the time, etc. But I'm good with faces. And I was like, I know an old lady that looks like this. And then I was like, wait a minute, it's fucking Queen of Thorns from Game of Thrones. And I was right. and I was like kind of blown away. And then later she wears like the wrap on her head that the Queen of Thorns always wore on the show. But anyways,
well, we've also sung her praises highly at one other point too, for her final role in
Last Night in Soho. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, there's an interesting thing here I want to mention too, because she made this movie the same year that she made The Assassination Bureau. And that's a movie I just recently saw for the first time and liked it a ton. And it's kind of got like a Bond-like character in Oliver Reed, who's the male lead in it. And Oliver Reed was up for the role of Bond. Like, he was almost Bond, but they kind of decided that his persona kind of was too big.
well,
and Reed also very difficult to work with.
yeah, I was gonna say if they thought George Lazenby turned out to be difficult,
right. But I found that interesting because that movie came out the same year and it had Diana Rigg and the almost Bond Oliver Reed. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, this is one that gets overlooked, and it really shouldn't, because this does have stuff that has tendrils that play out to other films later on down the line. One of which that we'll definitely talk about in a couple of weeks, and the motto on the Bond family crest is the title of our last movie of the month. So it's, I mean, but this is much more there is something to Bond's character that won't get much attention for another 20 years after this movie. And that is he is not entirely enamored with his job. Not so much so to where everything else comes second. He will say that things
there's
will
also
come.
A vulnerability.
Right. And that all of that stuff plays later. Yeah.
Yeah, he'll say that should come second to his job, but they don't.
Well,
right?
he is so pissed off at Blofeld at the beginning of this movie, he quits.
Yeah.
He quits to track him down because M says, "Nope, sorry, you're not getting the job done." So he gets pissed
off Operation Bedlam because his license to kill is being wasted.
If he's not
finding Blofeld. Yep.
And so he's like, "All right, screw you, I'm out."
Yep.
And and he's not leaving just so that he can go hang out with Tracy. He's leaving because ultimately he's going to try to find and kill Blofeld.
Right.
And that is something else that plays up certainly in Timothy Dalton's era. Mm-hmm. And Dalton was the first one to kind of show a little bit of vulnerability under a much tougher exterior than what George Lazenby has. But and it certainly plays out in spades in Daniel Craig's era.
Yeah.
To so much
almost too serious.
Yeah.
Daniel Craig's era.
Sure.
Yeah.
But he does have that kind of underneath that serious, he is broken, and you see a little bit of that softness with a very thin layer of shielding underneath Lazenby. And so that's why I say, if anybody out there who likes the Daniel Craig era, there is no reason, in my opinion, that they wouldn't like this movie or the two Timothy Dalton movies.
Most definitely. I mean, I would say if you love Casino Royale, double feature it with On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Now, it's kind of a double downer, but
yeah, it is.
but great like pairing,
Yeah.
I was sad when Dalton left.
Yeah.
And
I was too.
Yeah.
Those are both movies that are in my top 10. We were talking about our rankings earlier. And both of the three quote unquote black sheep entries are all in my top 10.
Interesting.
So
kind of makes sense, really. I do have a question before we move too far on, and maybe we haven't even gotten here yet. But the opening.
Yeah, we got to talk about the opening.
the fourth wall break. Like, what the fuck?
So that is the reason why they decided to go with that. It was not initially going to be in the script. They were playing it very straight, but there was an inside joke in the pre-production and in the production of basically George Lazenby saying that. Well, that never happened to the other guy. That never happened to the other fella. And so they were just like, yeah, let's have fun with it. And this is very much, I think this is the precursor to what 70s Bond will be. There is this kind of a break where it's like, we're just having a laugh here. You know, it's like, you're not coming to see this movie for perfection, or you're not coming to the series for these kind of perfect movies. They're very Bond things that happen, and oftentimes you're in on the joke with Bond, which is why he always has the one-liners, right?
Lots of one-liners in this one, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And this one was directly to the audience. It was a wink, wink. We know we're different.
I don't have a problem so much with it. It's a little bit like if you weren't in the theater, you know, on its initial run, it's a little bit jarring, right? But knowing the history and kind of knowing what the expectations probably were for him, it's probably a really fun moment that kind of takes a little bit of the pressure out of the room, right? My problem with it is with the scene is, who the fuck is he fighting on the beach? Like, why is he fighting all of the guys?
Yeah, I don't know. And why is she, well, I mean, we know she has a death wish, I guess. But.
Yeah. I mean, I assume that they are, what's his name's, damn it.
They're
Draco's men.
They're Draco's men.
But yeah, here's the thing. Like, I imagine they're like bodyguards for her, but why are they the ones not stopping her from like walking in?
I don't think they're her bodyguards. I think he sent her out to get her. And here's all of a sudden this other guy. Yeah, they show up
late, and they see Bond like standing over her, and they're like, "Oh, fuck this!" And they
they attack. Yeah,
it's very confusing.
It is. Here's the thing. One thing about this movie is it is one of the closer adaptations from all accounts. Now, I have not read this one, but I do know. There was an honest attempt with Casino Royale in 2006, but like Live and Let Die is kind of close, but there's major scenes missing that show up in other movies. Moonraker, I mentioned last week, is completely different.
Right.
But this one is actually pretty close. Tracy is suicidal.
Mm-hmm.
Which plays into something that was a bit of an ongoing thing in a lot of the Ian Fleming books. The girl was always damaged in some way.
Right. He liked his women damaged, that Fleming.
Well, not necessarily like emotionally damaged. Sometimes it was a physical attribute
I'm
that
not
was
saying,
different.
I didn't specify any.
No, but like it I mean, like there were, girls who had scars. There were girls who were, Bond himself is not really written to be a good looking guy. I mean, he's kind of a rugged kind of, don't want to say monster, but he is definitely not smooth. It is not his, I mean, that's not what a spy is typically.
Yeah.
But so, like I'm sure the book goes into a lot more other than, her father's own description of things that went on in her life that caused her to basically kind of spin out of control.
Sure. I'm not even all that. I don't have any issues with that presentation of her character. I'm just it's more just confusion around who the hell is Bond fighting on the beach.
Yeah, and I think all of that, I think that fight scene was probably not in the book because this was being written while Dr. No was in production as a novel. So it was, my guess is they're like, okay, well, we'll figure out a way that Bond gets attacked by these guys and she'll run away and he'll have to chase her again.
But what I really like about it, beyond the confusion, is it establishes a very physical Bond.
Oh, yeah. He's throwing
Lazenby,
haymakers.
He's throwing like crazy uppercuts. He's like a character out of Mike Tyson's Punch Out with those uppercuts.
Yeah. It's very much like a Batman TV show action scene, right?
You know what else you can tell in this scene? That the editor finally got to direct a Bond.
Yes.
Yes. That is excellent.
He can shoot the way he wants to cut it. Yeah.
Excellent point. Because Peter Hunt was the editor on every single Bond film up to this point. And he knew what he was looking for.
Yes, and he cut the shit out of some of these scenes, and they look really cool and fast and awesome.
Well, hold that
energy. Yep.
Hold that thought, because John Glenn, who edits this film, also edits The Spy Who Loved Me, and also directs License to Kill later this month.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
There's more connection to.
So they have a unified style. Yeah.
Yes, they do. So. Yeah, so there is John Glenn's a little bit of a different type of director when we get to his movie, starting with For Your Eyes Only. But it works for the 80s Bond films.
It's interesting that there's like a promotion aspect to the Bond franchise.
It's very much a family. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So this movie was originally planned to be. Initially, they thought, well, we'll make it the third movie, and then they did Goldfinger, and then it's like, okay, well, we'll definitely make it the fourth movie,
right?
And then the whole Thunderball rights issue with Kevin McClory was resolved, and they're like, we got to do it now. We got to do Thunderball now. We can't. So they held this off. I don't know why they did You Only Live Twice first, but. The script for this was written, the first drafts of the script was written earlier on. And continuity wise, it would make sense for this to be either before or right after.
Oh, I know why. I know why they did You Only Live Twice next. It was because they were going to do Her Majesty's Secret Service, but there was inadequate snow cover in Switzerland.
Really?
Yeah. The locations didn't pan out for the shooting schedule, so they had to wait. And they did You Only Live Twice instead.
Which, that in and of itself, You Only Live Twice.
I'm a Bond expert, guys.
Yeah, there it is. There it is.
Expert.
There you go. Get him, everybody.
But that's why. It was just a location issue.
There we go. Yeah. And now that you say that, I feel like I heard that somewhere along the way, but it was not. If it was in the Inside on Her Majesty's Secret Service that I watched on the disc,
I just read the Wikipedia page. That's right. It's on there. It has a I mean, cited, but
there is. Although I will say, You Only Live Twice is one of my favorite visual early Bond films.
This is a really good visual.
Oh, it is most definitely. But of the Sean Connery ones, I love the way Japan looks.
Yeah, I think I remember liking that one quite a bit.
Yeah.
Other than some of the Japan face action that happens in that one.
Well, yeah,
Japan face. That's almost as bad as the action. Yeah.
Oh no, come on. Should I say yellow face? I guess. I mean,
well, that's technically the term. Yeah,
that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the face, ghost faced.
Yeah, yellow face. It's all yellow scream face. It's weird. But anyway,
yeah, that racist knockoff Scream movie, Yellow Face. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's. Never mind. I'm not going to say what I think it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on. Step in and save
us. This is also one of the. This is one of those situations where, because of the way they just kind of kept the script as it was, and they really kind of worked very heavily off of the source material. I mean, like Hunt always said that the story was always there. You know, I mean, it was already there in the Ian Fleming text, so there was very little they changed.
Yeah, and he carried the novel, annotated novel, like he was like constantly referring to the novel on set. Yeah,
and so there. It turns out though that how this shows up, and you know, the continuity of the books are very different than the continuity of the movies. Spectre is not the main bad guy in the books, or the typical bad guy in the books. Blofeld was kind of brought in later. You know, so it's interesting in that regard, but it does create one problem in this movie. And I want to go ahead and address this now.
Yeah, let's get out of the way.
Because in You Only Live Twice, Bond goes to Japan because they found where Blofeld is. So he goes to Japan. He's gonna go over and he's gonna punch Blofeld in the face.
Yeah.
In so many action scenes. Well, Bond and Blofeld are face to face at one point. So when Bond shows up to Piz Gloria, Blofeld should immediately point at him and say, "That's James Bond. Get that guy fucking dead right now."
We also established in From Russia with Love, they know Bond well enough to like create masks of him for their training exercises. Now you can maybe explain away that Blofeld wouldn't have that knowledge, but he's the head of Spectre. I'm sure if anyone knows what Bond looks like, he knows what Bond looks like.
I have an argument for this.
Oh yeah?
Lazenby is so Clark Kent as
Hillary
genealogist, as a genealogist.
Yes,
Sir Hillary Bray.
As he couldn't possibly be recognized. It's
he was
Superman.
The Clark Kent complex.
Yeah. I mean, I've got more to say about that.
I think that's what they want you to think. Yeah,
right. Yeah. And I think they also want you to think that. Right, but here's the real story. The original draft.
I like my story better, Jeff.
Well, yeah, I mean,
go ahead, please. I'm sorry.
But the original draft of the screenplay, there was a scene where Bond gets plastic surgery to look different, which, considering
they could have easily done this with a new actor,
right?
Yeah, right.
They could have. I also think it kind of undercuts the change in casting though a little bit. I think it cheapens it.
Yeah,
probably
in my mind.
Maybe for that reason. Sorry.
Now,
Jeff.
What's interesting about the plastic surgery element is that in order for Bond to get to Yellowface in the previous movie, he undergoes surgery.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
So that would have been one too many times for that. In the opening sequence,
go back to that well again. Yeah.
In the opening sequence of Diamonds Are Forever, Bond believes he kills Blofeld, but it's a duplicate created to look like Charles Gray because that version of Blofeld is doing plastic surgery to himself and other people as decoys to throw Bond off.
Oh my God.
But he had earlobes in that one.
Well, yeah. But I mean, he gets those put back on. So there's two things here. One, if this movie had happened earlier, then Bond and Blofeld were never face to face enough, right? And you could maybe write off the Bond mask and From Russia with Love as kind of a nobody really knows what the continuity of anything is going to be,
right?
I mean, the Brits should be well aware of that because for 60 years, Doctor Who has been a little squiggy with the continuity.
Yeah, I mean, they don't even really address what happened first.
Exactly.
Other than the order of the films.
It doesn't even really bother me either because when I watch a Bond movie, I'm not really thinking about the events of the previous movie.
And you're not
Which sucks when they bring them in, though.
Yeah, they might. They might like make a reference to it, like a cheeky reference or there's at least a loose continuity. Like, yes, Bond is still after Spectre, right? But I don't need to remember that they were face to face in the previous movie.
I mean, Blofeld looks different every time Bond's
right,
exactly.
It's a different actor every time. So yeah, it's It's one of those things. Yeah, because like for real, the only person to be shown on screen with his face as Blofeld more than once was Christoph Waltz.
Christoph Waltz, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he finally broke through to get the
In multiple movies.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway,
He's a good Blofeld. Too bad he was
Yes.
in kind of
two not great.
two not so great movies, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, so like really honestly, the Bond films are not designed to be, oh, you need to watch this one to get to this one, or no, they're meant to be watched one off. And certainly
totally
back
agree.
then, pre home video days, it doesn't really fucking matter. If you show up to see On Her Majesty's Secret Service, you know, you don't, I mean, and if you show up to see Diamonds Are Forever, you see Bond show up and say, where's Blofeld as he's punching people through walls and shit. Who cares? Doesn't matter. Blofeld's the guy he's after. You know, that's all.
That's why you don't need like a Moriarty character in Bond, right? It
Not
works.
really. Yeah. I mean, it works, but you
for
don't
Sherlock Holmes, but you don't need it.
Right. I mean, like Spectre was an interesting idea in the 60s. Because of the Cold War, there was a lot of Cold War element to
But
that.
a new leader would have been fine each time.
Yes.
Or
a new leader
new
or
arm, a new faction, a new whatever.
right. Every movie has a different number 2, number 3, number 5, number 4, whatever would show up to be the main person the Bond is going after.
Which I kind of think From Russia with Love had it right in not showing his face the entire movie and not naming him.
Yeah.
They
He's
should have
just number
carried
one
that
at that
on
point. Yeah.
until it was going to end.
Question mark, I think, right?
Yeah, that was what he was. Yeah.
That's credited as.
Sorry, I'm belaboring this.
No.
He's the Inspector Gadget villain.
Yes. Spectre Gadget, Dr. Evil, basically.
Right. Yep.
Now, one real quick thing I do want to say here, when it comes to the writer of this movie, Richard Maybaum, of the first 16 films, there are only 2 that he did not write.
Wow.
One was Moonraker.
Jeez, that's crazy.
The other is the one before this, which is You Only Live Twice, which was written by Roald Dahl.
Huh. Yeah.
I knew that.
I did know that too. Yep.
So yeah, that was I don't know where Maybaum was for those. Although probably, well, he did write some additional dialogue for Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, but those were all, again, same producers. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang was written by Ian Fleming as a book. So, you know, it's like they had
and
Ian
Peter Hunt
Fleming
was involved in that too.
Yes, he was. Yeah.
Yep.
They had that on lockdown. You know, it's like we got all of Ian Fleming stuff.
I mean, it's
here.
basically a company. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But anyway, so yeah, basically these movies are, I mean, like, yes, if you watch them in a row, you could think, wow, that's weird. Why wouldn't they know? You know, but like these movies weren't meant to be watched as like a series.
Yeah.
They are a series, but you can watch any one of them at any time. Like tomorrow I may decide to watch Moonraker, and the day after that I may decide to watch Thunderball. Doesn't fucking matter.
Right.
It's still James
Does
Bond.
not matter.
Yeah.
All right.
So yes, Bond meets Tracy early on, is curious about who she is, shows up at a, I assume he's in Monte Carlo, I would think.
Maybe.
Beach, casino, Monte Carlo, right?
Right.
Is that a place that has a bitchin' reflection of the neon lights of casino in the pool at night?
I'm guessing every place does in Monte Carlo.
That shot is so cool.
Yeah.
It is very cool.
It's like
They also know Bond pretty well at that hotel. It's like your usual accoutrements. I'm surprised they didn't like open a closet door and there's just like a different like redhead, blonde, brunette, raven haired. You know,
they're playing blackjack in this one, aren't they?
Baccarat.
No, it's not blackjack. It's baccarat again.
Yeah. Oh, that was almost always what Bond.
I know,
played.
but it looked like they were trying to hit like 21 because of the way the cards were coming down. It was baccarat.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know how baccarat works.
So yeah, I mean, you call Bonko. That means you you have to meet whatever the current winnings is of the guy with the streak of winnings, and then you get up to 3 cards, and the idea is to get as close to 9 as possible. So if you get 2 face cards, it's 0. You can get a 3rd card, and if it's a 7, you have 7.
All right. That makes sense. Then yeah, Baccarat. Cool.
Which is why he tells her that Tracy makes a fatal mistake, that she asked for a card on 5 instead of playing it safe. And she's like, basically like, what's the point in playing it safe? And he's like, whoa, I kind of like this chick. She has got problems though.
Yeah, she's a little destructive. Yeah.
She bets without money. Which is like, not good.
I ain't got it.
So Bond, like he white knights in, and it's like, here's like 20,000 fucking francs.
Yeah, it just covers it.
Just covers it. Yeah.
That's a crazy amount. That's a crazy amount of money. Like, yeah, that's a lot of money.
Bond's gonna win it back tomorrow. Don't worry. Actually, he gets it back tomorrow.
He still leaves the table with a bunch of chips.
Yeah,
he'd already been winning. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he had no problem covering Tracy, and then he covered Tracy.
Yeah, he did. And there's that. I love the whole tete-a-tete with them about, like, you know, what you purchased and paying your debts and all of that. That's so well written.
Well,
there's a lot of like just playfulness, but also like kind of jabbing at each other. So there's a sparring there.
There is, which makes her kind of his equal.
Yeah, most definitely.
Because she doesn't really throw herself at. She plays this game with him and decides on her own. Yeah, you can come to my room. You know. You're gonna have to beat up my bodyguards though.
Yeah, before that she has to beat up his bodyguards, and and
then he goes back to his room, and then she's there.
I like the very Bond moment where he tastes the caviar.
Oh yeah,
and he knows exactly what fish and region it is. It's like beluga,
royal
north
beluga
of the Caspian. Yeah, royal beluga north of the Caspian.
Yeah, yeah, it is. There is a small not a continuity error, but a small error. He asks for a 57 Dom Perignon. They didn't make a 56, 57, or 58 Dom Perignon.
Oh, really? Those were
off years.
Yeah. Off years.
They weren't for Bond.
Well, that's fair. Yeah.
Maybe just didn't have access
the secret
to them.
Stash. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Exactly. I think if he just says a thing, it just pops into existence. It's like, yes, here it is.
He knows that only certain places got like very small like batches of
Dom Perignon was on Her Majesty's secret menu.
There it is. It is.
Oh boy.
Sorry, that was good.
That's a good one. I'll give you that one.
I believe
we haven't told you about our Pittsburgh.
Oh no! We'll get there.
That's later. I know.
Yeah, we'll get there.
I know what's happening here, but
that's going to be ridiculous.
Yeah, that's going to be great. That's going to be great. I believe in the books, Bond was always a Bollinger drinker. I think, not a. Dom Perignon. Yeah. Anyway.
Well.
So the basically, she's like, she is not unused to seemingly being a commodity, which indicates something later that her father wants him to do.
Yeah.
Which is interesting in and of itself. It's a little bit of foreshadowing.
With her father is kind of bad.
It's very old European.
It's a bit transactional.
Yeah, exactly. Well, of course, he's a criminal, which is interesting because it's like,
right, he's offering dowries and shit for her.
Exactly, and he's essentially a crime boss.
He's probably used her as a chess piece in deals before. Yeah,
he's using his daughter as a chess piece.
Oh man!
So he then.
That's like your number one reference movie. It's so funny.
I don't know why. I don't know.
It's the delivery of that line.
Yeah, I think that's Christopher Lambert. He should be Bond.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing.
Oh God,
make it an hour and a half. Sorry, continue.
So he basically
like Bond, that sounds like Peter Lorre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
The Peter Lorre Bond. Peter Lorre was Le Chiffre in the TV Casino Royale in the 50s.
Yeah, wow, look at that.
Look at all these
That's why
connections.
you're the expert.
No, goddamn it.
That's why you're the enthusiast.
The enthusiast. Yes. So anyway, so Bond wakes up the next morning. Tracy's gone. She leaves the 20,000 francs that he paid her debt, and basically is gone. And he tries to find out
along with his gun.
Yeah, his gun's gone too. She does make the comment, like, do you always carry guns? You know, which, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, he does in his line of work. Yeah.
There is like, sometimes it feels like she doesn't know what he does, even though she does know what he does. It's weird in this movie. Like, that comment is weird.
Yeah. Well, I don't think she knows anything about him at that point. I think he's still trying to play off.
She knows who James Bond is. She says she knows who James Bond is.
Yeah.
Maybe the reputation, but maybe not like the full story.
Maybe. I don't know. It's just a comment.
In a way,
it doesn't ruin anything for me.
In a way, though, I do think she sees him in a way that other people don't also.
She sees him beyond his agent life, for sure.
And he sees her beyond her destructive nature.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very important how they see each other, because for obvious reasons that we'll talk about later.
Right.
I'm sorry. Continue.
So he gets up in the morning, he takes off, he finds out she's checked out. He has no real, like, he basically knows who she is, but he doesn't know much of anything else, where she went or anything. So he just goes back to England. And this is where he gets into a little bit of, trouble with him, who basically says,
wait a minute.
Oh wait, no, we've skipped over. He does go see her father first.
He gets abducted to go see her father.
He comes out, and the guy he beats up the night before, because he's like, it's funny running into you again. By the way, also, I always like it when Bond punches a guy and they don't react, and then he has to react to them not reacting to his best punch.
Yes.
Which happened the night before.
Yes. And that guy keeps going, and Stephanie, like, each time he said, was like, no.
Yeah. So,
but actually, one of my favorite moments, well, it's not my favorite moment, but it's a cool shot, because Bond gets taken into Draco's business, right? Or into his office, and he beats up the guards, goes into the room, grabs a knife, throws it, and hits like the number 14 on a board. Yeah. But you can't see it. And Draco puts the glasses up to his eyes, and it comes into focus, and then he pulls the glasses down and it goes out of focus. I'm like, that is so fucking cool. Like, as just a movie making thing. Because I know it's just changing focus from his face to the board, but it's also like using the glasses as a mechanism for focus. It's just, I was like, that is really cool.
Well, he also makes the comments like, but today's the 13th, to which Bond, but I'm superstitious.
Yes, and that plays into a plan in the last movie, or is it this movie where they do the 14th, 13th thing?
That was last movie.
You're right.
Because he was like, it was supposed. He says we're going to take the Lecter on the 14th, and he does it on the 13th.
Yeah. So those come back too, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Numbers are always a big thing in the Bond films. I mean, I think some of that is just based on he is known by a number,
right?
So numbers have always played into these things. Anyway, so you're right. He goes there and
he's like, proposition there, basically.
Yeah, and he's like, I know who you are, and I know that you would be right for my daughter. Date her a few times. Maybe you'll like each other. But Bond also is like, I know exactly who you are. You are this guy who is the crime boss, but Spectre's bigger. And he kind of dangles that out there to say, if you know where Blofeld is, I'll take down Blofeld for you.
Right.
But so it is a transaction in a way, but like Bond is okay with just taking down the Blofeld part. It's like, yeah, I like your daughter, but you're kind of trying to push her on me. He's a little weirded out by that, I think.
Yeah, I feel like because of the confusion of the first scene and everything that's happened up to here, there's a point missing. And the point that's missing is I think that Bond puts all this in action. Right? Like he knows where this is going. He knows who Contessa is, even though he feigns that he doesn't. Like,
well, she does flat out tell him who she is.
He doesn't luck in. Yeah, but he doesn't luck into finding someone who knows who Blofeld works with. This isn't luck, in my opinion. This is mission. But
I think you're probably right. I think he probably knows who she is when he sees her on the highway, and then she gets out and runs into the ocean. Like,
right, he's following her already. I think.
Right. She's kind of a way in to getting information. Yeah.
Yes.
It's none of it is a mistake.
Right.
I agree. Yep.
I could see that. I can be convinced of that reading.
It would be weird. It would be weird if he happened into this shit.
I think so.
Yeah.
I
do think
and
though,
that's what I think makes their relationship so interesting is because he enters into it, using her, transactionally, just like,
using her like her father does.
Just like her father does. And
yes.
She, I think, even recognizes that.
Yes.
Right? And it's the fact that they see so much of each other in themselves in each other. That is what creates this organic, natural progression to their romance, right?
And I think that's what adds to why I like this movie is that I'm not explicitly told everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have to put it together, but
I do think he is a little put off by what do you mean you want me to just take your daughter?
He very well could be. Very well could be. I wasn't arguing that.
Right.
Sorry.
He definitely didn't see that coming. He's like, oh my God, I'm being offered $1 million to marry this woman. It's like, yeah. Right. Like, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, if you really know
but he's going to still use that. He's going to use that to his advantage still as well, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because like when she realizes what's going down, she's hurt by it. And she's like, just give him what he wants. She
diffuses it perfectly.
It's great.
Oh, she is like the best. There isn't a Bond girl who comes even close to as good as her.
Not in the classic era, no. I mean, I would say that Ava Green is pretty close.
Yeah, yes.
When you get into the modern days.
Most definitely.
But yeah, it's
I knew you probably loved her, Jason.
Love her. I love her so
good.
much.
She's really good in this.
Love her.
I didn't really even talk about last week that as daffy as Tanya was, she is incredibly cute.
Very,
very like very there's no resisting that plan. Yeah, I'll go on that trap mission.
I ain't gonna put my thoughts on her on tape.
Technically, you are currently.
They'll use it to disgrace your government if you do.
Yeah. But no, I mean, bringing back to this week, this is a whole different level of Bond girl. You're right, Jason.
It's just complex. She's so complicated and interesting, and she has autonomy, right? She makes decisions. She's not going to do what she doesn't want to do. She's strong-willed. She's stubborn. She's all of the elements. They're all the elements in each other that they value.
Yeah,
and she's the foil on the other end of the spectrum.
Totally.
Not in the enemy sense, but in the challenging of your own self.
Right. They've met their equals.
Yes.
Which is why I think it bothers me a little bit that they pushed a completely different character that way. They had the right actress in the Craig era, but they pushed this whole other character that was so very clearly meant to be Tracy, but it was a completely different character. And I was like, it didn't sit right
I
with me.
don't have a great frame of reference for this, unfortunately.
I'm talking about the Lea Seydoux character in the last two Bond films.
Yeah.
Great.
Talk about
Perfect
another
actress.
lady. I won't put my thoughts on.
Yeah, you best not.
That's not. But no, I mean, like it's just so very obvious that was, but it was like, but it should be Tracy. Like, like they nailed it with the Ava Green character. And it's like, yes, that is a very important character for that first story.
Yep.
After that, it's supposed to be Tracy. And it's like, I hate being that it's supposed to be this or that. I hate being that type of person, but it didn't sit right with me when I sat through essentially 5 hours of Bond movies.
You're allowed to feel that way.
If they don't do it right another way, then yes.
Why not just be that
just
character?
Do what works? Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
It was like anyway. That's a
Let's
conversation.
get back to
for
Honor
another day.
Majesty's Secrets.
We shall.
Yes. So like basically, then he goes back to England. So yeah, I had the timeline wrong. He then goes back to England, and M basically is roasting him, putting him over the coals, saying, "You are wasted here." It's like, I'm taking you off. Did he say 009? Was that who he said was going to take over?
I think maybe
somebody. One of the you've been taken off. And Bond goes back to or he goes out into Moneypenny, and he's like, take a note. This won't be the last time he quits from Her Majesty's Secret Service in this month. He basically says, pins his resignation letter. And he goes back to his office, which, by the way, I didn't know Bond had an office.
Right. Oh, but hadn't he thrown his hat? That was so sweet.
Well, he did that.
Well, he does that at the end.
Well, he throws his hat to her, but he throws it in and puts it on the hook.
He always does that thing with his hook, with the hook. That's kind of like their greeting.
That was a good shot in this one, because it looks like he actually nailed it.
I think he did.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. They probably take a bunch of those to get it right.
Yeah. Sorry.
But
no.
Well,
that's important because that's what makes the moment at the end with Moneypenny so poignant.
Yes. And that was not originally in the script.
Oh, it's so good.
It was added on the spot.
One of those moments that just gets me. Yep.
Added by Lazenby or added by a director?
Oh, I thought you were making a pun. Sorry.
No. I hope it was a good pun you thought I was making.
Well, he was laughing in advance, so he was like he was already aware that it was going to be a good one. So he goes back to his office and he reflects on his career. Now, it's very interesting that you do only see items from the first 3 movies.
Okay, because this is supposed to be the 4th one. Yeah.
Wait, which movie came in the middle? I need to...
Thunderball and I don't think Thunderball and You Only Live Twice were represented in those items he was pulling out of his desk.
Okay.
It was Honey Rider's knife.
So you say the first 3 movies, but you mean the first 3 books.
The first 3 movies.
So
the books are in a different order.
Could you make the argument that the movies aren't chronological then?
You could. You could make that argument.
You could say that this is the 6th movie, but it takes place 4th in the timeline.
You could do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's it was Honey Rider's knife.
The Temple of Doom situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Honey Rider's knife, Grant's
Garrote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
I don't know. I'm terrible at this.
What was it that was from?
This was not the stuff that I know. This is stuff that our resident enthusiast would know.
I can't remember. I can't remember what it is.
To know this.
I can't remember what he pulls out from Goldfinger, but
yeah, definitely not an expert.
A finger of gold, I'm pretty sure.
I don't know. But I do know that this is what keeps it out of the top 5 for me. The self-referential piece to that, like, I don't mind that first joke because it's like, we're all having a laugh, we're all in on it, it's a different guy.
This keeps it out.
That's weird, Jeff.
I didn't particularly, because it was very much it's one of the
service.
It's too direct fan service.
Yeah.
If it was just something in the background, it's fan service. That would be considered fan service.
But it's just a quick, easy way to show him reflecting on his career.
Yeah, I don't even consider it a fan service.
But it's very, I don't know. I mean, the thing is it's very obvious where it's like, and they're playing the music from each of the other movies.
That's
I don't know. It just it breaks it a little bit for me.
But
whereas if it was,
but it's a big moment. Like, of course, he's not going to really retire. But
I know,
but it's a big moment.
No, but okay, all right. Let's back up. Because you're saying it's a big moment because he isn't going to resign. I think it's a big moment because it shows he could.
Right. No, I'm not saying it's not a big moment. No. It is a big moment. You also know he's not really going to.
No, I disagree. I think it's showing that he can or will.
Right. I agree. And it's showing that he has that autonomy. Right?
So It's not that we know he won't, it's that we know he could.
And eventually he will, most definitely will. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
At the end of getting at. It's already on his mind.
Yes.
This is the thing he wants. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I gotcha. Yep.
Yes. Yep. So it's important to the narrative and what we get at the end of the movie is what I'm saying.
Most definitely. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yep.
I don't know. Me personally, it takes
Sorry, Jeff.
But of course, he gets called in. He gets called into the office. He gets called in the office by Miss Moneypenny. She said, "He wants you.
He wants you, James.
He goes
wants
in.
You."
M doesn't even look at him. He says, "Granted. Request granted."
And Bond thinks,
well,
shit.
That's cold
it's like
as hell.
Yeah. Well, by the way, Bond, you should realize that in every scenario, M is always going to be colder than you.
Yeah. Yeah.
The boss of the spy agency is doing far more cold shit than Bond ever has.
But man, Moneypenny's so good in this because he comes out, he starts kind of complaining to her. It's like, no regrets or anything. And she's like, well, what did you want, a knighthood?
Right.
And then she's like, did you even read it? And he opens it up and it's 2 weeks leave. And he kind of looks at Moneypenny. He's like, oh, you crazy
what would I do
broad.
Without you?
What would I do without you?
Well, that's what M says too.
No,
they both say it. They both
say it in the scene. Yeah.
Yep.
Because he gets all excited. He's kind of get the sense, right?
He's like, I got to go see about a girl now. He's
not ready. He's not really ready, but he is getting there.
Yeah.
Right.
This woman is the person who could make him,
not want to do that.
So he gets excited about going to see Tracy, and then M, says, "What would I do without you, Miss Moneypenny?" Because M doesn't want him to retire.
Well, he's but obviously,
yeah.
Yes, and obviously he also, being James Bond, will never get rid of that want to solve the case and kill Blofeld or stop Blofeld or. So
I'm going to argue
you get the feeling that he's going to do it anyway.
I'm going to argue that once you're granted a license to kill, you really like having a license to kill.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sure. I mean, I don't disagree with that, but I think there is a point where you would give it up.
Oh, sure.
Which one? Isn't there a Bond movie where he does legit resign and he
License to Kill?
Is it License to Kill?
Yeah.
Is that the one? Yeah.
I said this isn't the first time.
Yeah. That's a great one. Man, I can't wait to watch that again. Yep. Cool.
I'm surprised I knew something more about Bond than you. Just a skosh more.
Than Jeff?
Than you. Not Jeff.
I don't know that much.
Well, I don't know anything. And I know that.
Yes, you did know that. And because I said earlier, this is the first time that, anyway, this was not the first time he was going to quit.
Jeff did a dance. I wish you could have seen his dance.
I quit.
Anyway,
that's every Mission Impossible movie. He's a disavowed or he quits. Yeah.
Oh, I know. It's almost like it's like a whole other formula of
the
spy movies.
fake disavowalment. So you
Well,
can
the Bourne movies
There's
have
fake
a whole
ones.
thing.
There's real ones. There's quittings. Yeah, it's nuts.
And in Bourne, there's always an evil government coming after him. You know, it's all formulas. So Bond then goes back to Draco's, and he's like,
Draco's Pizza.
oh wait a minute,
That sounds like a pizza place.
well, we're not there yet.
I'll tell you. What
I
sounds
know
like a
you
pizza
have.
place.
I know you have a pizzeria coming.
So anyway, so he shows up at Draco's for his birthday party, and Tracy shows up and she sees the Bonds there, and she's like pissed. This is like, oh, what is he? You know, what's the transaction this time?
Yep.
And Bond like kind of feels bad. You know, it's like, yeah, I am getting something out of this, but I also like the other thing I'm getting out of this.
Yeah,
is access to the Countess.
I'm not sure obligation is quite the right word.
Right. Yeah, because she's like, yeah, it's like, yeah, because she accuses him of taking her on as an obligation.
Yeah. But I love how she essentially just like with her father, Draco, she's like, look, just give him what he wants. Take me.
Well, she also kind of finds out from her sister that there's even more.
It's not her sister. She's an only child.
Yeah, isn't it her dad's wife?
Yeah,
that's what I believed.
Contessa is an only child. I know that for a fact.
That's right. I always thought that was a sister, but yeah, you're right, because they always are referring to him as Papa.
Pretty sure it's
both
stepmom.
of them refer to him as that. That's why I always thought that. But yeah, I think it is stepmom, and I think it's a young stepmom.
Oh yes, it's Draco's lover, Olympe.
There you go.
Yeah.
Sorry, the only reason I know that is because they hammered home the only child thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, and Virginia North. Oh, I know who that is too, because she was also in.
She's an abominable Mr. Phibbs, Dr. Phibbs.
Yeah, and she's also in Some Girls Do, which I covered on B Movie Enema of the
That
Series.
I don't know, but it sounds fun.
You should watch that episode.
It's much better than Some Girls Don't.
Exactly. Definitely.
But don't put any more about that on tape.
We got to throw that into the fucking Venice. Anyway, into the Venice.
To the Venice.
Whatever that river is. I don't know what it is. The River Venice? What is it? Anyway. Okay. So
back on track here.
Yeah. So
she storms off. She storms off crying.
Yes.
Right. And Bond, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna go follow her. And it's like, hey, I've got my own reasons for this, basically. And that launches into a montage of them really falling in love with each other.
And this I mentioned this to Jeff when I was watching this again. I was like, this scene has so much potential to be corny, like the raindrops keep falling on my head sequence in Sundance and the Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, which that scene
the
is
Sundance
so
and the Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid
and the Butch Cassidy and the Sundance, whatever. And the raindrops and the falling in the heads.
I immediately thought of the Naked Gun.
Oh God, that's
funny.
That's
funny. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. This could have fallen flat on its face.
Yeah. This could have fallen flat on its head.
On its head with the raindrops. The
right.
Sundances.
The Sundances and the Rudy. So
it's one of those scenes that works better in retrospect.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Because of the irony of the song. You know?
Yes. It is.
What's the song?
We Have All the Time in the World. Louis Armstrong, but written by John Barry. I didn't realize he wrote it.
Well, he wrote the music because it matched the movie.
Oh, and the lyrics were by
Hal David.
Rats.
This is the Bond.
So there you go. There's another Austin Powers connection. The Burt.
Yep.
Yeah, Burt Bacharach, 100%.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This is the Bond song from this movie, though, right?
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
There's that Nina Christmas song, but that doesn't really count.
No, that was just something else that because of the setting, or because of the time frame of the movie.
This song gets incorporated into the theme at the end of the movie.
So this is the last time. So both of these first two movies were
Our covered movies.
Of
right?
the movies that we covered. Yeah. The second and third, and therefore the final time that a lyrical song did not open a Bond movie. The first, Dr. No had the James Bond theme. From Russia with Love had the instrumental version of From Russia with Love, which later the Matt Monroe song plays at the end, and also played in the film. And then this movie, instead of using this song as the opening, it used the theme, the main orchestral theme.
Right.
This music and this song lays back into No Time to Die. In fact,
yeah, that's right. It's at the end of No Time to Die
because Lea Seydoux is driving off in the Aston Martin that he has in this film.
Yeah.
The black one. Yeah, which was a nice touch. Yeah, it was like, okay, now,
I love this song. That. It's like,
well,
Louis Armstrong, man.
Another story about this song. So when my brother Jerry and my sister-in-law Becky were getting married in 1992, I suggested they use this song.
Yeah,
and they did. And my aunt Dorothy sang it at their wedding.
Oh wow!
Really?
Yep,
that's amazing.
It got the sheet music, and the organist played, and Dorothy sang it.
You know, it's funny because when I was listening to this song,
and you heard Dorothy,
I immediately thought, "Wow, what a great wedding song this would be!"
Yeah,
just perfect wedding song. That's awesome. So cool.
So that was my main contribution to that.
I didn't know Dorothy. I guess I did know Dorothy was a singer, but
she was in symphonic choir. In the 80s. So yeah,
that's pretty
80s
sweet.
and 90s.
That's very sweet.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
So so there's that little John Barry, my favorite movie music composer, has family connections now.
Yeah.
So we need to get back to the movie.
Yes.
There's one key piece of information that Bond got, and it's that there is a connection that Draco knows to Spectre, to Blofeld, and it's the lawyer. He gives him a name of a lawyer.
Yes. Oh, this scene is great.
It is very good. So he's going to break into the lawyer's office, crack his safe, and get some files that he hopes has information about Spectre and about Blofeld. And it's a whole thing. He's like flipping through a Playboy while he's waiting for his little machine.
Oh, but then you have the guy across the street who brings the kit up.
Yeah.
With like a crane.
On the crane, who he works for Draco. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Draco's
Draco
company.
Construction. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he tosses it out onto the little bucket that gets lifted up there.
Yep.
So he doesn't get caught, leaving with the goods. And it's from this information that he gleans that what is it? Basically that there's a guy who thinks he's a count.
Yeah, so Blofeld is attempting to prove himself to be a count in order to... He's attempting to claim the title of Count Balthazar de Beauchamp.
De Beauchamp, yeah.
Which I believe would give him some sort of family.
He would get title, lands, and some sort
money.
Of royal, some sort of royal dowry, or not dowry, but
something. Yeah, some sort of extra allowance.
Right. Yes, royal allowance of some sort. Yeah.
Yeah, which would only help to continue to fund Spectre. Which, in a way, this is kind of a legal form of extortion, I guess.
Yeah.
In a way, he's anyway. So basically, so there's been communication between Sir Edmund Hillary
Yes.
of the College of Arms Sir Edmund Hillary. Sir Hillary Bray. Edmund Hillary is the guy who fucking climbed the mountain, didn't he? Anyway, Sir Hillary Bray, who is working on this genealogy, and so Bond goes to meet with Hillary Bray, because at this point he's like, I'm going to insert myself into your role, and he learns a bunch of stuff from Bray, and Bond's ability to repeat that shit later is kind of amazing.
It is. It's great. I mean, that's why he's Bond,
Well, he's doing his job.
You're not a secret agent for nothing, right? You have to be pretty smart. You have to have a good memory.
When you're in Military Intelligence 6, you better have the I part down, the intelligence part.
Yes, indeed. So one of the funnier like details he learns is that the Beauchamps are famous for not having, I guess,
earlobes.
This is a weird word, but for not having earlobes. Yes.
Right. Yes.
So that's the first thing you need to look at when you're face to face with this guy.
Because the idea is that he's going to determine if the genealogy is indeed intact, and that he is the count. So he goes to meet this Beauchamp, who he's very, very certain is Blofeld.
He knows exactly it is, because Beauchamp is the French version of the name Blofeld.
Of the name Blofeld, right? Correct.
Yeah. He's already determined that.
Yeah.
Well, he knows he's the guy he's looking for, but he doesn't. Which is funny. It could be contentious that Blofeld is who he says he is.
He could be. Sure.
It could be. Yeah.
Yeah. He definitely doesn't have the earlobes.
I'll say one thing.
Well, I mean, Donald Pleasance did, though.
True.
Yeah, so he probably cut him off.
Right.
Shots.
He was already dabbling in the facial reconstruction anyway.
Yeah.
So
the shots going up that mountain are amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. So
pretty much the whole rest of the movie is cinematically beautiful.
Right.
Yeah.
So Piz Gloria, I was telling Jason, this is one place
Pizza Gloria.
Yeah, I would love to go to someday. Because they have like a whole thing that's like, it's branded with 007 and everything. So it's just a restaurant on top of this mountain. It's a rotating restaurant.
Yeah.
But when I was typing that in Messenger, it auto-corrected the Pizza Gloria.
Yeah.
And now Jason and I have a whole business plan.
Oh my God, yeah.
Chuck, we would like for you to come in. Let's do a pizza joint called Pizza Gloria. It's all on Her Majesty Secret Service themed. All of the people in the kitchen are going to wear those gray shirts like Blofeld wears.
Yes.
On
the menu, it's going to read, "It has been so nice to either serve or feed you." Not quite sure which yet, but
for all the guys,
so nice to serve you.
Yeah. All the guys are going to be wearing tuxedos, or possibly the Scottish Hillary Bray outfit. All the girls have to wear Diana Rigg's little skating outfit, all bundled up. The manager should always be bald. So there you go, Chuck. I guess there you go.
I'm managing.
I don't know if they need to be bald, but yeah.
Wear bald caps, I guess. I don't know.
Everyone who delivers food to the table is on Her Majesty's secret server.
Oh,
right? Yes.
Well, yeah, that's good. That's good. And
we should have on Her Majesty's secret sauce too.
When they deliver the pizza to your table, the obvious thing to say is "Time to dine, Mr. Bond."
So there you go. We got a whole business plan. Come on board, Chuck. It'd be great. It'll be great.
I'm in.
Pizza Gloria coming soon.
Pizza Gloria.
Probably the I don't know. We're kind of thinking the Fountain Square area.
I want to do a little. I want to do a little breadstick hopper that you load the breadsticks into, and you can push a button, and it'll come down like a little bobsled. Shoot.
I like it. And if people ask if their breadsticks are done, just say, there's a slight stiffness coming on.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
Perfect.
Yes, you're on board. You've got
Yes.
the vibe.
I am on board.
It's where all your puns can go. All your
Yes.
Bond puns can go here.
I've been trying to come up with like a Lazenby pun, but I haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be perfect. It's great.
Jeff has just shown Chuck the mock-up of the
Of our
of
sign.
the,
Yeah, it's
the
great.
poster
I'll
from this
include it.
movie,
I'll
but
include it.
Okay,
I'll
because it kills me. It kills me.
What is happening?
Yeah, we did a whole thing yesterday.
We did a whole thing. We went way down a rabbit hole there. It's
Is
fun.
that a giant breadstick?
Yes.
Lazenby's
Giant breadstick.
holding?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So anyway, so
Pizza Gloria.
So anyway, Piz Gloria is one of the best locations in any movie, certainly
world.
in any Bond film.
So
Period.
that's the thing. I think if people recognize anything from this movie who haven't seen this movie, it would be this location, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a real place. They found it, and they're like, "Oh, this is going in," and it actually ended up
headquarters.
being, I think, in the book. It was the it was the location. So yeah, so this is this is Bond history. I mean, and it celebrates that. So, so Bond gets flown out there by Blofeld's goon, which is Irma Bunt, to which he tries to tell her what her name means. Because he's playing Sir Hilary Bray.
Yeah.
And so it's very awkward, and it's kind of a put down sort of because it's a nautical term. I think he said it's the saggy part of a
ship or something.
No, it's the saggy part of the sail when you wrap it up.
Yeah.
And she's not like thin, like and he's like, "Oh, no offense,"
Well, my oldest, who is watching this with me, was like, "Was that a put down?" I'm like, "No, he's just playing the role." Maybe
It's both.
Yeah.
Totally.
So but basically he keeps playing up the idea, "Oh, I've never been in a helicopter. I'm getting a little nauseous or whatever." They land, and there's a great line when they get out of the helicopter.
Oh God, it's so good.
Do it, Jason.
He's like, so good to be back on the ground, not ground, ice.
Yeah. And then smash cut. Like like that's
It's
perfect.
it's like Ivan Drago. you
Yeah.
know?
So then basically he finds out that there are a bunch of girls with allergies at this place.
This is such a bizarre cover, but I love all of it.
It's so weird. It's so
Yeah.
60s.
Uh-huh.
And it is part of the novel. So it's like this is almost a decade early.
it's
And
also very Austin Powers.
Exactly.
Yes,
Exactly.
For sure. I'm seeing that for sure. Yep.
Interesting story. So if you ever notice, all of the girls are sitting around crocheting. That was not part of the plan.
Huh.
That was
They're just killing time.
no, it was it was basically Joanna Lumley, who's better known for Absolutely Fabulous later on in her career. She basically, everybody called her like kind of the den mother of all the girls in the play, and she was like, basically, is like, if we're as characters, if we're supposed to be up here on this mountain with no place to go or anything, we would have some sort of a hobby. So we're all going to crochet.
Yeah.
And so basically they all started crocheting on set, and it became part of their character.
Yeah, and I'm sure it was like a way to kill time in between takes too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny. Well, that whole dinner scene with the women in Bond is amazing. The innuendo that's flying through the conversation.
Austin Powers.
Yeah. It's so good.
Like that doesn't exist in the previous movie. It exists here.
Yeah.
Like in spades.
Yeah.
That like all the dick jokes and everything they do in Austin
gold
Powers
balls and
gold balls, gold member. It's very Austin Powers.
When he leaves the room, though, is my favorite. When he says, "May all your allergies be swiftly cured," and then one
Joanna
of the women
Lumley.
says, "Is it Joanna Lumley?" Yeah, it's perfect delivery. It's like, well, we know what he's allergic to.
Well, she's also the one who rolls her eyes when he starts talking like the nerdy shit too. Yeah,
so good.
She is
Joanna Lumley is the
English girl.
The laughing Goldie Hawn lookalike.
Yeah,
right?
well, no.
That's
she's
what's her
the
name?
Angela Sculler,
Okay, she's the second girl.
Ruby
Yes.
Bartlett. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, she's the second one who comes in to.
She's got an allergy
right?
to chickens.
After yes.
Yeah, and that's when I texted Jeff. I was like, "My God, he's got an amazingly short refraction period."
Yeah, it's, like that is very Austin Powers too. He's just having sex with every woman.
Well, that's also what gets him caught.
Right. Yeah, that's the one. So that's when Blofeld's like,
also-
wait a minute.
It also kind of detracts from the love story that's happening.
I agree,
But
it's on
it's
character.
it's poignant. And we're not there yet because I don't know how far we want to go ahead. This movie is about sterilizing the earth, right?
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
And the whole arc of him being on the island is virility,
The island.
right?
Well, the mountain.
Or the top of the mountain.
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
It's an island, but he can't leave.
I didn't know if you were
That's why
talking
I'm-
metaphorically.
No.
But
No, not metaphorically. Sorry, just a mistake. But he's very sexual. All the women are sexual. Everything that's happening in this place is sexual. But the whole point of this place
yeah.
is to sterilize the earth.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like playing yourself, making you horny watching, right? Because there's sexy women or whatever, or a sexy man, George Lazenby, feeling that threat of what Blofeld, whatever his name is. Blofeld, thank you. I was going to get there.
Blowfish.
Eventually. But it's interesting to me that they're trying to make you feel a certain way watching it. Right? Sexy things happening constantly. But the real threat is sterility. I think it's pretty smart, actually very smart the way they do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hadn't really thought about that.
No, that is a really good read on that. I like that. I like it.
Yeah. Sorry.
You know something more than both of us now.
Yeah.
I am going to add a couple of notes about some of the girls here. So one of the girls is Anuska Hempel. She plays the Australian. She's actually from New Zealand, but she's the Australian girl. She was the lead in Russ Meyer's Black Snake, which I covered on B Movie Enema.
Interesting.
She was also in Scars of Dracula, which I covered on Monster Mondays.
Yeah.
As was the quote unquote Irish girl, Jenny Hanley, the redhead. She was also in Scars of Dracula. Joanna Lumley, of course, was not only in in this, but also Some Girls Do, which I covered.
Oh, I screwed
Enema.
it up though, and she's not the other one that he goes to bed with. It's the Hungarian girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. And then she was Joanna Lumley played Jessica Van Helsing in Satanic Rites of Dracula, which
That movie rules.
it is that is coming to Monster Mondays if it's not already. I've not looked at my calendar. She let's see here. Also, and then we also had Virginia North, who I talked about already. I think that's it for right now. So I think we got that. So how about that? All sorts of connections here.
Imagine that British.
Oh wait,
Pretty
eventually
British women were in Hammer films. I would never.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Eventually, Julie Eggy, who plays the Swiss girl, Scandinavian girl, she will eventually be on a Monster Mondays, as she was in the Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
all right. So there you go. Back to the movie. Yeah. So anyway, this movie is loaded with people that I recognize, have had interactions with, not the same interactions the Bond had, unfortunately.
From
Maybe
here,
fortunately.
the action kind of like is pretty. It gets pretty breakneck.
Yeah, because
We have to have the confrontation, of course, where Blofeld outs Bond. He's like, "I know who you are."
well, yeah, Hillary Bray isn't going to be screwing every woman on my fucking mountain.
Right.
Well, yeah, that's where we see like the beginning of the horror too, because he's in the room going for one of the girls.
Oh yeah, for
Frau.
Ruby.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, the subliminal messaging starts coming through the
And he
speaker
realizes
system.
at this point, it's like something's not right here. This
Yeah,
is
there's
weird.
a brainwashing things happening here. Yeah.
Yeah, and he goes back and Frau jumps out of the bed, and that's fucking scary. It's a jump scare. It got me. There's like
fancy meeting you here, Frowlin. Is that what he
Yeah.
says?
Yeah. It's funny and goofy, but in a kind of a scary scene.
Oh, and he also, the other thing that he fucked up was he got the location of the Beauchamp tombs wrong.
Yeah.
He had the wrong like church or something.
He had every single thing right except for that.
What's funny about that is the genealogist told him wrong. He said, take him to Augsburg because their tombs are there.
Oh, I have to go back and check that. That's interesting. Huh.
So
he
yeah, so
no matter what.
He would have gotten it wrong no matter what, and he could not control his boner.
Yes.
Right. Things are getting a little stiff around here. Like those fucking jokes were killing me, and that's so Austin Powers. Yeah. His boner jokes.
Yeah, that was really funny. It's so funny.
And these girls are all like what are they called in the Austin Powers movies?
Fembots.
Fembots.
Well, yeah, essentially they will be. Yeah,
they will be. They're basically controlled by mind power to release this sterility virus into the world, and they're all going back to their respective homes. That's why you've got, one from every section of the Earth, right? So that he can blanket the whole planet with this virus. But he doesn't want to do that. He's going to use that threat to essentially become legitimized.
Yeah, it's the extortion
such a noble
part.
Man. Such a noble man.
Yeah.
Yes, that is the extortion part of
Spectre. Yeah.
So
and of
I have
course,
a question.
And Bond's whole thing is they realize Bond knows the plan. They sequester him, and his whole thing is like, well, if I can get the word out soon enough, they can find the women and start working on a antidote.
Or at the very least, a deprogramming.
Right.
Did we talk about Bond's man that was following him?
Oh yeah.
I don't know how important it is, but
well, yeah, he was the guy. He was the guy who helped him at the. I mean, he's Drago's guy.
He's one of Drago's guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he got hung up and hung to dry.
Well, because now Bunt tells Bond that they don't let anybody up the mountain, and the guy is scaling the mountain, and that's why he gets caught. And they initially shoo him off, but that's not really what they're doing. They end up stringing him up.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I think also kind of played into, I think they tortured him into basically saying, yeah, I'm here with Bond.
Yeah. So again, Bond is alone like the last movie. Why I brought it up. Isolated Bond.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
But he basically muscles his way out at this point. Yeah. He gets taken into a room that's got a bunch of pots, and they're like banging around Peter Hunt talks about how it was one of the noisiest scenes that could ever be shot. And
well, the other
it was
noisy
torture
one is when he's fighting the
and the
guy in
gears.
the room with all the bells.
Yeah.
He gets down off the mountain.
That's the one.
That's what I
Okay.
call them pots, but yeah, they're bells. Yeah, for some reason,
But he's got to escape out of the gondola like engine room first.
Yeah.
And he does that like climbing through the gears out onto the
so
wire.
both of those rooms were like extremely loud, and it was like, good luck with this sound guy.
I mean, you just rip the sound out at that point. You ADR the rest of it. Yeah.
So yeah,
then we find out. So Bond gets skis, right? And he goes down the hill, and then we find out that all the Gunthers, every single Gunther on that mountain, is a professional skier.
Fuck yeah, they are. Well,
who can
some better than others. Yeah.
Yeah, who can shoot machine guns while they're skiing. And I know there's only one Gunther, but I called them all Gunthers.
All Gunthers.
Yeah.
While I was watching the movie.
What I like about this is that Blofeld's out there. Like he's one of them chasing. He's skiing. He's
one
getting
of
physical.
us. One of us.
He's getting physical in the action, which is not like your typical thing you see, right?
Right.
The main baddie's usually sitting behind his desk.
A lot of the shooting of so most of that skiing of the actions, the action scenes with the skiing was shot by Willy Bogner, who was an Olympic skier. It's pretty good. I mean, it is like they said.
So he's shooting it with the camera while he's
handheld while skiing.
Yeah.
So he has no, like he is holding a camera. He's not balancing with his arms. And Lazenby said, here's this guy. I'm skiing down a hill, or I'm going down this hill, and all of a sudden, skiing backwards faster than I could ever go forwards is this guy with a camera.
That's wild.
Yeah, and it's like it's some of the best stunt film camera work that's probably ever been shot.
It's incredible.
I assume he's the same guy that was skiing with one ski. Because that's insane too. There's a guy.
Think so. Yeah, I think
like it's Lazenby or it's Bond,
right,
who's lost the ski, and it's fucking insane.
Yeah,
like. Sorry, Jason, you were going to say something.
I was just going to say that the coverage is so good that they only have to sparingly use the rear projection.
They only do that for the close-ups.
When they do use it for the close-ups, it's kind of jarring because it's like everything else looks so
not
good.
even needed.
There are some shots.
I agree.
Yeah,
there are some shots where it actually is Diana
They're really
Rigg.
just there to make sure you keep establishing who's who.
Yeah. And there are some shots of Diana Rigg coming down slower, but like sitting on like a
Rigg isn't
thing.
even in this.
Well, that's later, but
there are scenes where she is actually like it is physically them.
Yeah. Rigg has a rig.
Yeah, she is basically rigged up.
She drives the car in the.
She does. She actually does the stunt driving.
Stock car scene.
That's fucking insane.
She does that stunt work. And Lazenby was a somewhat skilled skier, which is part of some of the trouble he was giving the production later. But so there are some shots.
He's like, I can ski. I'm James Bond.
That's exactly what he did. And they're like, this guy's a nut.
That's crazy. He's like, I'm not crazy. I'm James Bond.
But there are some scenes where like he is actually skiing some of that stuff too. Not the really dangerous stuff, not the but there are some scenes where like that scene where he wipes out, that he gets down to the one ski. That is him wiping out. Like that is controlled enough to where he's, yeah.
Can we also talk about the fact that they actually staged an avalanche?
But that's so much later in this movie. Should we come back to
much later
first?
But yeah, he's got to come down the mountain first, and he fights a bunch of guys, and they're all
out. Fights a bunch of guys. You got to fucking talk about this. He fucking takes his ski and throws the guys off a mountain, and then he punches a guy in the face with his fucking. Who's going like 90 miles an hour, and then he has to try to choke his ass. And I'm like, this guy was dead like 7 times already. Sorry, you can't
I mean,
not talk
you
about
can't
that.
not talk about that.
Okay,
Chuck is
you did a
incredibly
perfect job of it. So
Yeah.
good job.
There is one other thing I do want to talk about as far as the shooting of the mountain. What they did was they had a helicopter. Now, it's complicated to shoot on a mountain in broad daylight because it's the shadow is going to very easily show up in the snow, right? But what they
Right.
did was they had a helicopter flying around with essentially what is this
Like a sheep.
basket that is hanging down where a guy is basically sitting in a chair with these ropes that are tied up to the helicopter, and he is swirling around and just shooting everything that he sees.
Huh.
And apparently the guy said that he like it's the greatest feeling in the world to do that. And it's like that is I would be shitting all over that mountain.
Airsick? Yes.
I'm not I would be shitting.
It would be all the vomit for me.
No vomit for me. It would just be a brown mountain. It would be a mountain of poop.
Vomit. So much.
But anyway, but you should see the picture. Like if I can figure out the picture, I'll send it to you guys because it is nuts.
Okay, so there's a moment that happens right now where he has escaped the henchmen, but he knows they're still in pursuit. And he's sitting on a bench at the ice skating rink. And who shows up but Tracy?
Barefoot Contessa.
And she's there, and she's almost kind of like prepared to have a little bit of their like fun cheeky barbing, but she notices something right away in James that he is in trouble. Like he is actually fearful for his life in this moment. He's scared, and I think
because he has no place. He has no place to go.
He has no refuge, and it's a cool moment because it's just like another one of those little things with the character where you see the vulnerability, and she springs into action, right? And she's like, "Okay, I have a car," and she kind of helps guide him to the car and tells him what side of the car to get into, and he sneaks around and they get in it, and she's the one who like drives off, and they seemingly escape, but the snow is like so heavy that they can't drive any further, and they kind of turn off to this barn, and is the car chase first? They do. They have the whole, and then the whole car chase happens before that.
Well, yeah, because they get into a demolition derby.
It's not a demolition derby, but it turns into one. Yeah.
Right.
And
which they did say they did talk about like shooting that, where it was like once you realize you don't really have to worry about the other cars, everybody was having a great time. It was just running into each other.
Well, there's a moment in that too, and this is I will contend the moment when James Bond realizes he's going to ask this woman to marry him. It's when she's driving that car like a fucking pro, and he just kind of like leans over and kisses her head.
Yeah.
And it's like boom, like
she does have a pretty bitchin' Mercury Cougar though.
I mean,
a good car.
I think it's important too that she keeps asking him, "How do we get out of here?" And he doesn't offer advice.
He doesn't really know.
Yeah,
it's not even that. Like he's gonna let her figure it out. Is like trust.
Yeah, true, but he does also like point out the way eventually, because he sees the opening, and then she says, "If you say so," or something like that. Like she's like, "I don't know if we can make this." Essentially, what she says, but they get out, and that's when they end up in the barn, and that's where he professes his undying love, asks her to marry him. She accepts. They both make their New Year's resolutions. That's a funny moment.
Yeah.
But then it's not the New Year yet.
Yeah, because she's going to be sleeping on like this cart, and he's sleeping on the floor.
Yeah,
and he knows he's not. That's not how that's going to go.
Right.
So he knocks the cart over, and she tumbles right onto him.
There's plenty of time for this on our wedding night. That's my New Year's resolution. And she's like, "If you say so." And then he's like, "And let that be yours," which cracks me up.
Well, then he knocks her down and says it's not New Year's yet.
Right, exactly.
They have pretty good chemistry.
I think so too.
You could tell that they got along, even though that was counter to what was being reported at the time.
Yeah, I read that there was some things that were coming out that they weren't getting along, but then
it was all a joke. It was all an inside joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that.
But then this is where they leave in the morning on skis, and the henchmen show up with Blofeld, and they pursue on skis.
The Gunthers, they're called
the Gunthers and Blofeld. Yeah, Blofeld
and they trigger the avalanche, which buries Bond, and she is not as badly buried. So Blofeld says like, go get the girl.
Go get the girl. Yeah. So
at that point. Yeah, and then Bond is like, well, I've got soon-to-be father-in-law who essentially has a fucking army, so it's like, let's fucking storm this mountain.
Well, forget that. We got to do this justice, because MI or whatever, Bond's
MI6.
Or MI6, that's what I was going to say, and then I thought Mission Impossible, I'm confused. MI6 is like, no, we have to deal with him. We're going to give him what he wants, immunity and his title. And that's it. And Bond's like, no. I'm going to call Draco and go up on the mountain and fucking roast everyone.
And he and M's like, we don't owe this person anything. It's like, stop letting your
right, this was
your personal,
This was foreshadowed earlier with the whole "what did you expect" knighthood. Like, M doesn't give a shit.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this is
running the business. You're an agent. Do your job.
But it is something that Bond goes rogue a lot.
Well, he went rogue here.
Well, yeah, and this is really kind of the first time that you really see him. Like, no, I'm not going to accept my boss's decision here. We'll see it again here in a couple of weeks with License to Kill. So, but then, so they attack, and I mean, it's like a typical Bond, like everybody is blowing everybody up.
Yeah, Bond's gonna win, right? Because
but there is a little bit of a problem. They're going to blow up Piz Gloria, which
Pizza Gloria.
Pizza Gloria is about to explode here, and Bond is inside, and he's not guaranteed to get out in time. And Tracy is like, hey, Dad, don't do this. It's like he's still inside, and he's like, nope, it's too late. The whole thing is timed, so he punches her out.
Yeah,
so that he can get her into the helicopter. And it's like, we just got to kind of hope that Bond is able to escape, which he does. He does, like, well, they bobsled out. Both he and Blofeld bobsled their asses out of the. Yeah, pretty great. That's pretty great that they're like, fuck this, we're going bobsledding.
It's stupid, but it's great.
Yeah, it is. I mean, if we're being honest, it's the right thing to do in this setting, right? It's like, we've already done the skiing.
Well, they showed it earlier, right? I mean, they showed it. So
it's gonna happen. That is a real bobsled track that was shut down because people died on that. And they're like, all right, stuntmen, go out there and bobsled.
Well, yeah, I mean, okay, so let's just skip through all the bullshit, because there's a lot of bullshit while they're bobsledding. But then Blofeld fucking stands up and gets his neck caught in a tree, which broke his fucking everything, because they're going 70 miles an hour. So he's dead, right?
Well, that's the assumption. Yeah.
Air quotes dead.
Right. And Bond's line was he branched off.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so stupid.
But here's the interesting thing. Timing all of that, they said, was the most difficult stunt in the whole movie.
Timing what?
Timing because they had the close up. Well, but somebody still had to drive by on a bobsled, stand up and grab hold of the thing to match the in studio shot. It was not an easy thing to time.
Okay, so anyways, Blofeld breaks his neck supposedly on this tree, right? And Bond wins. And he gets married. Right. I mean, this is the way this goes. And he's retired. He has that whole sweet moment with Money Penny where he
tosses Money Penny his hat, and she's crying because it's kind of like the end of their.
Right, he's retiring. He's done. They're flirting.
And their flirting is going to end. He's not going to see him in the office, and she's crying. Sends him. He notices her, and as he's getting into the car to drive off, he tosses her the hat. It's nice.
Yeah, and that was not the intention at the time. They were just going to get in the car and drive off, and they were like, "Well, wait a minute here. We got an actual relationship here that needs to be settled."
Yeah,
and so they're like, "Just toss her the hat."
Perfect. It's perfection.
I do like that M and Draco are like comparing notes, on stuff. It's like,
I hated you because you did this.
Right. And then, and of course, Q is like, I don't think I'm going to have to worry about how you handle this equipment.
Right.
That whole conversation.
Yeah.
And Bond's like, I don't need you on this one, old man. So I know what to do with this.
Yeah.
So they drive off, and they only stop because the car is covered in flowers, and somebody passes them, and they're like, "Oh, say it with flowers." He's like, "Yeah, I guess we do look like an ad." So he pulls over to take that off, and everything, and that's when Irma Bunt's driving by.
Stupid Irma.
Not just Irma Bunt.
But Blofeld's driving, but she's got the gun. She's going to stick it out the window. And she shoots, and he's like, "That's Blofeld, so I'm going to get those motherfuckers."
Yeah, it's like, screw the honeymoon. And he's like scrambling to get back in the car to drive after him. And his dear wife, Tracy,
shot right in the head.
Shot through
It's kind of fucking shocking and wild.
It is shocking.
Well, yeah, it's like you didn't expect to end a James Bond movie on a downer note,
You didn't expect, no, fuck that. You didn't expect to end a James Bond movie on a wedding.
Well, fair.
Well, yeah, and then
have that taken, and then have that taken away from you is the real fucking shocker, because James Bond would never get married, right?
Apparently, the reaction to this in the theaters was mixed.
Steph hated it.
There were jeers, and then there were also like people who were like truly moved and shattered by it. Yeah,
Steph would have jeered it. I was moved by it.
I'm moved by it as well, especially when it brings it back to we have all the time in the world. She's just having a rest. Like he isn't comprehending this. The man who we've seen and known as James Bond is broken in that moment. Yeah, it's good. It's real good. It could have. I remember there was one critic that said if they don't make another James Bond movie again, it would be the perfect ending. It's like, damn. Yeah.
It's great. I really like this movie a lot.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's among the upper tier.
It's weird, all the sandwiches though. Like there's like legit Austin Powers bullshit with his sexual middle to this movie, and like just hitting up all the girls. It does kind of take away from the end, but I'm also willing to forgive it. It's weird. I don't know how to explain this movie. It's weird.
Well, I've got some additional notes here.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. So yeah, so Peter Hunt was mostly on board with bringing in George Lazenby. Now, we had mentioned that, Lazenby went and picked up one of Connery's suits at his tailor that he didn't pick up. And he's like, don't worry that it doesn't fit. I just need the appearance. He goes to the barber and got his haircut, and he snuck past the secretary at Eon Productions to get to I can't remember if he said it was Saltzman or Broccoli's office, and basically just kind of posed there and said, yeah, I heard you're looking for a bond. And they're like, okay, well, we're going to keep you in mind. It's like, you're not an actor, so we need, so they kind of had to groom him a little bit to be an actor. So that's why, Hunt kind of worked with him mostly. He had Diana Rigg, kind of like spend some time with him, run some lines, see what you think of him. And she's like, yeah, he was, he's good. I think he's going to be all right. I mean, he still needs a little bit of work, and they were still looking for other people just in case if somebody came along. Now, I believe this was the earliest point in which Roger Moore was considered at one point. But he wasn't available or whatever, or he would have been too expensive or too well known for being the Saint or whatever. But what they did was they continued to do screen tests with Lazenby, and they were doing like a fight test or a test fight screen or a scening. And he didn't know that you had to pull your punches as an actor. So he knocked the fucking guy out. And Saltzman was like, yeah, he's the guy. he's going to be the guy for us. So they hired him, but he was extremely green, and like he had a different way that he walked. Like they were like, you got to figure out how to walk like a Brit. You're walking like an Australian outback guy, because he was. And so they had to teach him how to basically talk like a British person. Well, once they kind of started working, they were like, okay, well, Lazenby was talking about, it's like, you got your per diem in cash. So he had like this suitcase full of cash, and Telly Savalas got wind of this, and he's like, so you want to play some cards with us? And he basically tried to card shark him into losing all of his money and getting all of George Lazenby's money, until Harry Saltzman found out about this and basically took Telly Savalas to task on this. Like, no, you do. He is the star. You're not to mess with him. And then basically Telly Savalas was like, I wasn't trying anything. Basically raked him over the coals for trying to, and told him to leave George Lazenby alone. But where the worries began was, so one of the things was that, they were at the mountain where Piz Gloria was, and they were like, Lazenby was like, I don't have anything to do today, so he went out skiing. That's a major problem insurance wise.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, you can't do that. So there was that kind of rough around the edges that started to kind of worry them a little bit. It's like, he doesn't understand what he can and can't do. One of the other problems was kind of a problem that the producers themselves, I feel like, kind of started. On like the early part of production, Harry Saltzman would bring him over in front of the crew, and it's like, this guy is your star. You better treat him like this. And so it started to kind of inflate his ego a little bit. And Cubby Broccoli was like, no, you are not a star. You are only a star when the public says you're a star. Sean Connery wasn't a star because we put him in the role of James Bond. He was a star because the public said he was a star. So he was getting these kind of conflicting things from these two different producers. Then on top of that, he was getting hounded by the press, who constantly was throwing it in his face that he wasn't Sean Connery. And he's like, yeah, I know. Yeah, I know I'm not Sean Connery. So the pressure of the press was getting on him, which was part of the reason why Connery left in the first place, was that he couldn't go anywhere and not be hounded by the press for being James Bond. The British press decided to go a little bit more tabloid and claimed that he was a troublemaker and feuded with everybody in the crew. And it's like, this was all stuff that actors and movie people were kind of used to. It's like whatever sold a paper in England, they would print it. However, some of it was expressed because there was an inside joke that like Diana Rigg would, would like eat garlic before a love scene and would like announce it to everybody, which then came across like they weren't getting along, which wasn't the case. They got along pretty well. And then there was the other stuff. Once the production was done, George Lazenby grew out his hair. He grew a beard. He was kind of being a little bit more like a hippie in his attitude, which Broccoli and Saltzman didn't like because they wanted him to represent Bond as this clean-cut guy, and he didn't want to do that. Then his rep, Ronan O'Reilly, tried to hardball them with, was seeking a raise or he wouldn't do another film. And so basically they called the bluff and they fired him. And it didn't help that because of all of this press, of all of this comparison to Connery, the movie didn't perform well. So they, at that point, just completely and totally cut off, even though Cubby Broccoli did think that Lazenby would have been a fantastic Bond if he'd have done, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more movies. He would have been the James Bond, but it was getting to be too much that they had to deal with. So they cut ties, and that's, led to Connery being brought back for Diamonds Are Forever. And then it led to them hiring what they would typically not usually do, which is hire an already established star in Roger Moore to take over when Connery finally fully quit. So it's a little bit of an unfortunate story because George Lazenby could have been Bond he was so young, he could have been Bond for 20 years, probably.
Lazenbys are forever.
Yep, that's right.
Expert.
Expert. Enthusiast.
So anyway, yeah.
Well, we've done it. Is this our longest episode ever?
No, not yet. Until the
Let's
release.
Finish before it is.
One real quick thing about the length. Until Skyfall, this movie was the longest Bond movie.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I didn't know that.
Anyway. All right. So, Bond month continues next week. We get into the Roger Moore era with The Spy Who Loved Me. Fantastic entry.
Woot. My favorite theme song.
Oh, it is the theme song of all the Bond films. Yep. Yes. There's a lot to talk about there. So that is next Wednesday, the 15th at filmseizure.com. On Monday, November 13th, on Monster Mondays at filmseizure.com, I have Gamera versus Jiger. So getting back to Gamera.
Mm-hmm.
He's a friend of all the children, or so I'm told. So anyway, that's next week. Go to filmseizure.com, find out where you can follow us on the social medias, find out where you can listen to the show on the various podcast sites. Do all those types of things. This upcoming Friday at my website, bmovieenema.com, I have a review of Your Hunter from the Future. Fantastic little Reb Brown. Part Turkish, part Italian, part I don't remember the other country. French, I think.
Part insanity.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
All insanity.
There's some bitch and dinosaur mechanical things in there. So do that. But we leave on a downer because Tracy Bond is no more. But we pick up on a gooder from Roger Moore next week. And until then, I am Jeff Arbuckle.
I am Chuck Moore.
And I'm Jason Oliver, and you have been listening to Film Seizure.